Hello everybody, it's Richard here, keeping the story flowing. Something tells me the story has almost come home. Never thought it would, but it's getting nearer anyway. Because I'm no longer inviting you to sit with me under the walls of the city. I've invited you inside, the city of stories, the city of wonders. And we're inside the palace on the top of the hill. We're in a big hall which is filled with people. Some of them are familiar. And peering in through the open doors, there are two gigantic faces. And the storyteller stands on the dais. He rings his bell for the last time. He says, "Right then, it's a storytelling competition. You know this all very well. Each person takes a turn to come onto the dais and tell their story. And the best story wins a prize, because the emperor has decreed it. Who wants to go first?" And there's silence in the hall. Everybody looks at each other, and then somebody puts up their hand. He's got a weather-beaten face. Maybe he's a peasant, although he's wearing very nice clothes. But they would have been nice, I suppose, if they hadn't been so weather-beaten themselves. And he says, "I'll tell the first story, go on." And he picks his way through the audience, and he thumps up the steps onto the dais. And he stands there looking out. And he says, "Well then, I'm just a peasant. And I had a garden, and I worked in that garden, and I was not happy. Seriously, I was never happy. One day the wind was blowing, and I thought I'd go and find where the wind came from and maybe stop it. So I walked and I walked and I walked and I walked, and I came to some giants, just like those giants over there." And he points at the gigantic faces, which are showing slight signs of anxiety. And the peasant says, don't worry. I don't want anything from you. In fact, I'm going to give things back to you. Because," says the peasant, looking out over the audience, "they gave me all sorts of gifts. For a while, they've made me happy, but after a while, I just got bored. It was a music box again and again and again. And I thought to myself, I'm still not happy. And then," says the peasant, "somebody came along and started talking to me. It was like this rich-looking bloke who told me he had some question he was trying to answer. And I looked him up and down, and I thought I'd play a trick on him. I admit it. I told him he should go and see those giants as well. They'd probably answer his question just like they'd answered mine. And I told him we should swap clothes, because my clothes were stronger for a journey. And I got his clothes," says the peasant, smiling, "and I'm still wearing them to this very day. And for a while, it was nice wearing those fine clothes for a change. But only for a while. And I realised I'm still not happy. Then, when I looked around," says the peasant, "seemed to me I was the only person in the city. They'd all left. And the sand was blowing in. It was getting very lonely, you know. So I got to thinking, and I thought to myself, now then, trouble with the first people I spoke to, those giants, they weren't really happy themselves. Trouble with that rich bloke I spoke to, he wasn't really happy himself. So if they give me things, that's why they didn't make me happy. What I need is a gift from a truly happy man. Like his shirt, for instance. This is the way I was thinking. If only I could find a truly happy man, a wear his shirt, then I would be happy. And the peasant paused and smiled and said, so that's what I set off to do, find a truly happy man. I walked through the city just as I thought. There wasn't a soul in that city. Got to the desert, kept on walking. What's a bit of sand and heat to a peasant, eh? Kept on walking. It got dark, so I just kept on walking. And eventually, I came to an oasis with the trees all around it, beautiful water, very welcome drink that was. But I realised there was somebody else sitting by that oasis. He had a fire going, flickering fire in the darkness, the stars overhead, the palm trees whispering, says the peasant. And I sat down next to his fire and looked at him. Something about him, says the peasant. An old man he was, dressed in an old jacket, all the way up to his neck. But he looked at me with eyes that were so kind. And he smiled and offered me some of the food that he was cooking. Tasty it was. And we talked for a little bit. He was travelling just like me. There was something about him, says the peasant. And I asked and I said, tell me, are you happy? And he looked around and he said, look at the stars above. Look at how soft the sand is underfoot. I have enough food. I have wood for a fire. Of course I'm happy. He was truly happy, says the peasant. And I said to him, old man, I'll give you anything. I'll give you my clothes in exchange for yours, in exchange for one item of yours. I just want to wear your shirt, because if I can wear your shirt, I'll be happy like you. The old man looked at me. His eyes were twinkling so much, said the peasant, and then he started to laugh. I didn't know why. He should have my clothes in exchange for his. Mine were better. But he laughed on and on. What a laugh, says the peasant. What a laugh. And then I started to laugh too. I didn't even know why, says the peasant. I hadn't laughed like that since I was a child. And we laughed together under the night sky. But I was crying as well, said the peasant. Then the old man wiped his eyes and he said, you want to wear my shirt because I'm happy? And he unbuttoned his jacket. He said, I don't have a shirt. And he looked at me. And suddenly, says the peasant, I realised what a fool I was. It struck me suddenly, that thought, says the peasant. The old man said, happiness isn't what you have or what you do. Happiness is a feeling. It's inside you. If you have enough and you have this feeling, you have happiness. You felt it now. That's all you need to know. Ah, said the peasant, sitting in the desert under those stars. I understood. Happiness is a feeling. And I felt it there and then. And once felt, you can feel it always, says the peasant. So I don't need this music box, said the peasant, pulling something out of his pocket. I don't even need these clothes. Oi, giants, do you want this back? And the giants peered in and said, No, you can keep it. Please, keep it. It was a pleasure to meet you. Oh, thank you, says the peasant. And as for these clothes, says the peasant, I'd like to give them back to whoever I got them from, but probably he's not here. And then, down at the bottom of the dais, a man put his hand up. He was sitting unnoticed, and there was another man leaning against his shoulder. They both seemed old and marked. And the man sitting upright said, Actually, I think those are my clothes, but you can have them. In exchange for your story, you can have them. And the peasant said, Thank you. And the storyteller shook his bell and he said, That was the first story, a good one to start. Now, who wants to go next? And immediately, 3 little old ladies put up their hands. Bright-eyed, grey-haired, ancient faces. And they were sitting next to a large pot with a cat lying at their feet. And the 3 little old ladies said, We would like to tell a story. And what story they told and what happened then, I will tell you tomorrow. So until then, goodbye.